Saw this coming.
Namaste, beloved ones, and welcome to Shri and Kira Live. I am Wisdom Teacher Shri Ramka.
And namaste, beloved ones. I am Master Lady Kira Ra, and Shri and I are sincerely delighted to welcome you to a whole new experience of Shri and Kira Live. And before we go any further, we sincerely just want to bring our hands together and say thank you. Thank you to all of you as Shri and I are entering our 20th year of continual public service. Thank you for saying, hey, we want Sundays again. Come on back. And so here we are. So we're going to dive right in and share with you what is this show all about? What's happening? Where are we going? Because there's so much to share, and we're just so glad to see you right now.
So it is indeed our delight to come back in this brand new year of 2022 and to bring with this energy of embrace of 2022, the energy of consciousness.
Indeed. And so this show is about the expanding consciousness that is happening right now. 2022 is a unique moment in our collective history. It is the top of the Ascension escalator that began in 2015. So each week when you tune in to Shri and Kira Live, what you will experience is Shri and I sharing with you the cutting edge of consciousness. What is happening right now, the weekly experience of our planet that assists us all to stay in that beautiful moment of divine mastery presence. So along with sharing what's going on in the world, which this week, you've got to hang out, we're going to be talking about COVID and consciousness. And we have a lot to share, And we're also going to be sharing with you those weekly Ascension updates.
Absolutely. Because each week we have the opportunity to flow with that which is around and operating through us. You know, many people get so busy with the particles of their reality that they forget to witness the flow of their reality. and so it's human nature to always look for what's moving. And so we tend to have our attention go to the objects rather than the context.
Ooh, and so let's start first with the context of the voice of passionate action. So let's bring our hands to our heart, because what is the voice of passionate action? Well, it's your voice. It's our voice. It's the collective voice that says yes. Yes to that which is co-creating in service to the all.
Yes.
The passionate action experience is something Shri and I have had the blessing of living now for 20 years together. And passionate action is that blessing that comes forward through the Sea of Neutrality. In the Sea of Neutrality, all of our active presence becomes that which we are. And so the voice of passionate action, it's your voice, it's our voice, it's the one voice saying yes to this moment outside of polarity, outside of dogma, and outside of that which would seek to stop you from absolutely commanding, knowing, and being the law of instantaneous manifestation. Welcome, beloved ones. I'm excited.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the things to remember is that when we anchor in our ascended heart, when we truly detach from the hypnosis of the mass convolutions and events, and while we can enjoy them, we do not define ourselves by them.
Exactly.
That's the magic right there. Lifting into the ascended heart, we open up that fifth dimensional portal. This is where it begins, right here. And that fifth dimensional portal is the portal of compassion and clarity.
Ooh, compassion and clarity. So, hey, speaking of compassion and clarity, let's dive in, shall we? You ready for February? Because OMG. Today is, if you're catching us live, it's the 30th of January. So we have one more day left, right? February 1 is this Tuesday. Tomorrow is the 31st. So we're in this wonderful moment. And remember that, Shri, let's go ahead and pop up our first sharing. So let's go ahead and show them the February up-level calendar. There it is. So once again, if you have not yet received this year's 2022, we call it the up-level calendar, but honestly, it's really the Ascension energy for the entire year. What we're showing you right now is just the absolute February experience. And if you look at that, remember that the law of instantaneous manifestation is arising and anchoring. And it's anchoring through that steadfast commitment, focused awareness, and complete trust in your divine mastery presence. So as you look at February, what's the first thing you notice? Choice. This is a big month of choice, and it's a 9 month on its own, meaning February itself is a 9. We're going to be talking about that. Remember, this is utilizing ascended numerology. Now, when we look at February, I want you to go right to the 16th, even though you're going, Kira, what's going on there on Tuesday? We're going to come back to that. But I want you to look at the 16th because this is important. We have already been through our first of these consecutive, I'm calling them bell ringing full moon moments, right?
Yes.
This year is all about anchoring the Sea of Neutrality. However, February is the first of 2, believe it or not, crystalline full moons in a row. Now, this is really important to notice because not only is it a month of choice, it's the culminating cycle from December. Remember that when we were in December 1, 2021, right? We were at that moment where, Shri, do we have last year's energy flows? Can I show them that? I don't.
Not sure
Okay.
I do.
So what we have is that moment whereby the Sea of Neutrality is opening now. So Shri, go to the Sea of Neutrality. Let's show them that right there. There we are. So this is really important because this actually began in December. Remember, as it says right up here, the miracle in motion is the presence of 2022. Now, all of this text, everything I'm reading is in the calendar, and you sincerely want your copy of the calendar, get to shriandkira.com and grab it. Because this right here, if you look at the Merkaba of Self-Ascension, what's important about the Merkaba of Self-Ascension is what Shri was mentioning about that anchoring of the heart to keep everything spinning.
You know, as you gaze into this graphic here, for those of you that are new to this, you got to be patient with yourself because there's a lot of content here. But the key is that each of those figure eights represents a chakra energy that is in balance with the soul and the soul's mission here. And as we move into that heart chakra, that beautiful interlocking figure eight energy of the heart, we begin to activate the upliftment.
And you'll notice that the chakras are depicted here as infinity symbols. And what you're seeing here is that 2022 is birthing that Sea of Neutrality. And it's because of your conscious awareness through quantum expansion. And that's what those 3 energies are. And you'll see right there, it's about co-creative power, momentum, and energy. Now, remembering that all energy is neutral and remembering that we've just arrived in a choice month, that brings us back to December. December was all about the awareness that what was happening. Even the full moon of December had an up level, had such a strong up level energy that we kind of went right on in. It was like we just bulldozed right into January.
There, yeah.
Right there it was.
Yeah.
So here we are now entering into February. And what's so valuable to note is that this month, February 2022 is actually in ascended numerology, the 6 plus the infinite. So what that means is that this entire month is about the law of instantaneous manifestation and creation. And the choice is yours. And it's very powerful that this is a short month, so in February. And as we are coming together, let's show them the ascended numerology for February, because this is where those overlays start really revealing themselves. If you gaze at the ascended numerology for February 2022, remember that February itself, just on its own, is always a 9 every year. However, this year, February 2022 is actually the 6 plus the infinite, which you'll see is a mimic of the year itself. So not only is the energy of February, not only is the choice in February all about, and we're going to, as you're gazing at the charts right now, all about the law of instantaneous manifestation, it's also about unification and ignition. Unification and ignition. These are the energies that are inviting the expanded awakening to step into the energetic womb of rebirth. Because when you look at the physical body, you notice that that little triangle there on the second chakra. That's what the 6 is. But the 6 in this experience is all about balance, and that balance is coming in from your infinite nature. Now, when you look at Tuesday, February 1, we start the month right out. The very first day is go. It's an illuminated new moon ignition, which means all of your dreams are being ignited. Everything you're ready to manifest is being shown to you, and Tuesday is the day. Tuesday is the day to say, go, go, go. Put it in motion. Get your vision clear. Bring it out. Talk to people. Get things moving, because that is the 11, right? And when we gaze at the 11, notice, especially over in the physical body, that's the divine energy pouring in from the left side.
And the left side is where we greet what is to be. The left side is that feminine nature that says, I embrace my future. I embrace my destiny. I embrace what is to come to be.
And that is a beautiful gift, because as you do that, notice that in the same week, right? This week ahead is crazy amazing. So on the 1st, we have this illuminated new moon ignition that's just like go, go, go. Law of instantaneous manifestation. Remember, unification and ignition. It's all about expansion of consciousness. So then on the 3rd, we got to love this. That first Mercury retrograde, how has that been for you, right? That first Mercury retrograde is completing, and it brings everybody back to their root chakra. It brings everybody back to their beingness. And this is extremely important, because you're going to be. It's about being you, manifesting, claiming, saying yes, that birthing alignment. Because if you choose to take the steps and come out of the womb, the universe is supporting you, and the choice is yours. And what's going to happen is, from that rich beingness, which is the 4 of perfect balance, that gift of saying yes to you, that true peace, that is the gift from the universe at that first chakra level. On that full moon, you are jettisoning straight up into the 7, which is your vision and the expansion of your vision. And so it's your choice. These first few weeks of February, which are really right now as we're moving in, we're already in the cycle of this illuminated new moon, which is the 1st. It's that go, go, go. And this is such a profound moment, because February is the 1st of 2 in a row crystalline moon energies. And this is incredibly profound, because when we get to March, it's all about the equinox, and let's talk about it.
So first, I want to remind us all that the power of a crystalline full moon is one of actualization. It's the one of that manifestation boost, and we're coming up on that. And March, oh my goodness, March is one of those months that is just.
And let's talk just about the equinox, because we want to save all that March energy
Absolutely.
for a little later on.
And so this is this propulsion that we're going to enjoy in March, and we'll certainly share more about that coming up, is on that equinox weekend is an opportunity to lift together, to harmonize together through an event that we are co-creating and collaborating.
And before we get to that, let's just talk about why this is so important. So as we're in this February crystalline moon energy, let us not forget that until we arrive at this full moon of February, where we are right now is in that full moon of the rising voice of January that carried with it the energy of, can humanity survive dogma? And if you've not read our article about that, get to ShriandKara.com and read it. Because as we are moving through this moment, and this is why Shri and I are really diving deep into COVID and consciousness in just a moment, the February crystalline moon, as Shri was just sharing, building into the March equinox, we are in a month of choice. In March, we will have the awareness of the choice that is made in February. February is a mirror image. It's like this little mini, let's try on the rest of the year. Let's put everything together. What are we seeing? How is this year coming together? But the March equinox is the moment where the Sea of Neutrality will either anchor or fall. And this is why the March equinox matters. 2022 was the rise and is the rise of the Sea of Neutrality. The Sea of Neutrality can only exist and come forward when enough beings of consciousness transcend the linear preoccupation to be able to hold and unify with the greater consciousness expansion that we are being blessed to experience together right now. When the March equinox comes, it is very much about this infinite energy of the Trinity of the first part of this year, of this January, February, March experience, of going back to the March equinox from 2021, of noticing all of the energies that are coming together and standing together in the energy of one voice that says yes. Yes to this experience continuing. Yes to this experience expanding. The planetary thought body is filled with activism. Activism only creates polarization. Now breathe that in. Because you may say, but what about this that's wrong? And what about that and this? And we have to do this and oh my God. First and foremost, breathe in and realize that only an ego of density would carry the judgment that would say anything needed to be different than it is. That does not excuse it. That does not mean it is not without its own ramifications. Every choice has a response. And that's why we're eternally in the cycle of awareness, experience, choice. Whether we're going up in our cycle, whether we're lateral, or whether we're spinning downward, we're always in it. So you can never mess up and you'll always be there. However, in a moment of this potentiality where you have arrived, where Sri and I have arrived right now, we have collectively come together because this absolute moment of potentiality has before us all the greatest, most extraordinary opportunity to expand consciousness beyond where we have ever taken it before in the experience of form. And so all the doors are open. All the secrets are being revealed. But the Sea of Neutrality is saying, are you willing to really expand, or do we begin again?
You know, this is a powerful recognition. And I just want to offer another way of looking at this that is actually the same way, but with different words. And this is for all of you that are going, well, how can I be neutral in a time of such stress, etc.? And the key here is about the peace of unconditional love, the peace that passeth all understanding. When we reside in our ascended heart energy, what we're saying is, I trust. I trust my divine nature. I trust the divine hand at work. And I am available to express my compassion as I am guided. To express compassion can indeed mean taking action in a world that needs love, and that assisting folks and nature in whatever way your heart calls. However, those actions arise from the compassion that is alive in your heart. There's a peacefulness and a clarity at work here. And this is the ascended action that will always contribute to a higher order of balance, rather than contribute to what you oppose or will persist.
Well, and I really want to, sorry guys, it's really hot in here all of a sudden. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, yeah, you like my new tattoo? I'll show you that. That's my new tattoo. All right. So one of the things that's important to hear as Sri is sharing is that I hear some of you going, yeah, Sri, I've heard all that before, you know? And so let me share with you what you haven't heard before that Sri is sharing as well. And that is that in this moment, what is it to be neutral? What is it to live in the Sea of Neutrality? And how do we sustain our divine mastery presence in that ability to do so? And the key is that's why the divine mastery presence journey is happening. And if for those of you that really want to master that, you could still jump in, but this is like the last month. You could join us for that year. For those of you that are saying, what are you talking about, Kira? What I want you to remember is this. To be neutral does not mean you are without action. The Sea of Neutrality is extremely active. Passionate action is extremely active. The law of instantaneous manifestation is the active presence of your divine being 24/7. It is, Archangel Zadkiel 101, right? Keep your eyes on the divine at all times. This moment is so profound. Shri, let's show them the Sea of Neutrality graphic that we want to help you really understand what that is. So as you gaze at this right here, oh, wrong one. I'm sorry. It must be, let's try that one maybe. There we are. Okay. So 2022 as the 6 plus the infinite is what has raised the Sea of Neutrality into being. And you'll see here, I want you to look at the graphic kind of behind the words right now. If you look at the left, you will notice that what's happening is that when we completed 2021, we started walking out onto the Sea of Neutrality. And that's what you're seeing right there. That's you. All of humanity is standing right now in the middle of this ocean. And as it says right here, it is the moment of consciousness. We are collectively co-creating beyond that which we have done before. And so what's important is right down at the bottom, the greater the piece of living as the law of instantaneous manifestation is the gift that you are being offered. And the key in that gift is having the courage to say yes to you. Having the courage to say no to that which is perhaps popular or pervasive. And this really brings us to today's expanded topic. And before we dive into what's been going on with Shri and I and the conversation that we're getting ready to have with you, we also do want to remind you that as you're getting over to shriandkira.com, learn about the event that is happening in March.
Yes.
Because the Unified Voices is an extraordinarily important moment. And if you want to join us live, we're almost sold out. So register right away, meaning if you want to be here in Ecuador with us. But this is a worldwide broadcast. We are very, very blessed that we're going to be working with, we are working with unified.org. All of the rest of the processes are coming up as far as how to register and get involved. But if you want to ensure your seat, you want to make sure you're here, or you want to make sure you're registered, go to shriandkira.com and learn more about all of the beautiful voices from around the world. These incredible leaders that are coming here to Ecuador, to the center of the world, to ignite this moment. And really, in a month of choice, where February is the first crystalline full moon and March is the second, this is the moment to come together as one voice. And we have so much more to share about that in the coming weeks, but make sure you check it out, shriandkira.com.
Yeah, you'll get the advanced preview,
Exactly.
and it'll keep expanding each and every week as more and more comes on board.
Yeah.
One of the things to remember is that we are all having a spiritual experience.
So true.
Whether we pay attention or not.
That is so true, isn't it?
We're here in Earth School doing our thing. And the degree to which we can smile and awaken through this process is the degree to which we can enjoy consciousness and be in service to
There it is.
the expansion.
There it is. And so taking a deep breath, and Shri and I really just want to kind of snuggle in here with you and take you guys on a journey with us. And remembering that for those of you that are listening to us over at YouTube, I'm sure there's lots of robust chat going on. And in the future, starting hopefully right with next week, oh my goodness, well, there's the chat. We actually made sure we could look at the chat so that if you have questions for us, something specific, put it in the chat and we're going to do our best to respond to that. We will not be looking at the chat all the time, but that is where we would like to be able to respond to your questions.
But I just want to say, as I gaze at all of the love acknowledgement and celebration energy
Yeah.
that is here, is radiating. You, all of you who are here are making a true difference.
Yeah.
You're catalyzing that energy of oneness, that energy of expansion. And this is indeed the magic. Be here, share with each other, love each other, and celebrate the expanding discernments, the expanding energy, and the reality that we are love.
So let's breathe that in. And, it takes me back, Sri, always, we were sharing about this the other day, the 4 steps of self-ascension. And if you don't know about that, go to shriandcarry.com and just learn about that too. So let's bring our hands to our heart. And Sri and I have been, let's just say, out of touch. We have intentionally been checked out for over a week now in a lot of ways that we are normally together. Our Monday Magic premiered last Monday with the beautiful Jess and Dana team and everyone else having a blast. And Sri and I were not there. And we are going to be there next Monday. So those of you that are part of Monday Magic, make sure you're there. And if you're not part of Monday Magic, be a part. Go register. The reason that Sri and I have been out of pocket is because, much to our surprise, we were greeted with a positive COVID test about 10 days ago. And what was fascinating is that the journey that ensued and what we have discovered through living this moment of navigating the COVID experience is a blessing in consciousness that is just unparalleled. And we sincerely really invite you, as we're getting ready to share, we both invite you to bring a hand to your heart, let go of your dogmas if you can, relax your belief system for a moment, and perhaps give yourself the gift of receiving the information that we are very blessed to be living right now and sharing with you, because it has become very clear to us that the absolute, if there was to be a reason of density that Sri and I were to have this experience, it was to claim what the consciousness is trying to reveal through something that has been completely viewed as just the opposite of what it is. So I want you to breathe that in. And Sri, would you like to begin? Would you like to share more before we go further?
Sure. Well, I have a quote-unquote teaching moment that is kind of a preparation of context, if you'd like me to go there.
That's
now.
your choice, sweetheart.
Okay. All right. Well, the reason I said quote-unquote is sometimes it's nice to just talk about something before we get into the depth of it, meaning to step back and look at the meta point of view. Now, as a medical intuitive, I'm here to say...
As an evasive medical intuitive.
Yes.
Mastered.
That every illness, regardless, is an opportunity to expand and heal on multiple levels. And so as we just pause for a moment and consider that any form of, quote, affliction, any form of common cold or serious diagnosis carries with it a gift. And that gift is an activation and a rebalancing of your energy. Now, it's not required you accept the gift. This is part of the journey of being alive, is that when we have things, we either find the gifts and we grow through them, or we don't. And so one of the things that comes forward for me in the whole COVID influenza is twofold. One of them is that it gives us an opportunity to take a deep look at what is seeking to be balanced in our lives. And that's the same at every level of flu bugs, so to speak. Even the most simple common cold, which usually hits your respiratory system, does it not, is an opportunity to take a time out from a path that you were on and find a healing balance. And for most of us, the quote common cold means we were working too hard or denying ourselves, and we weren't listening to that emotional piece of us that was needing rest and reassurance. Well, that lesson moves forward regardless. That's a lesson that applies to the COVID experience as well as the simplest rhinovirus. And so it's important to remember that COVID is a master's journey in many regards. it accelerates the opportunity to really discover who you are and expand your consciousness, to the point that I was playing with the words and came up with the acronym. And I want to offer this to you not as a definitive, but as an opportunity to step back and reframe a little bit. Because COVID is indeed an opportunity to catalyze, catalyze your oneness, your vital integritous destiny, to catalyze your oneness and your vital integrous destiny. And what I mean by that...
You did get that with COVID, right? Because you just said there's the C, but I don't think everybody got the OVID.
The key here is that...
Say it again, honey, because I really don't think they got it. The catalyze?
Catalyzing objective, vital, integrous destiny. Integrous means authenticity. It means in alignment with who you are. Mm-hmm. And the vital is indeed that energized recognition. You know, we have an opportunity before all of us right now to get super clear on your pathway, your personal expansion. And the world at large is really amping up the fear energy and disguising it in so many ways. Mm-hmm. The key is to recognize that fear is a springboard to consciousness.
Yes.
Not a collapse of your experience. And therein is one of the magic trampolines of all of this, is that we each have an opportunity to recontextualize that which is going on as the opportunity for expansion.
So I really do have to jump in, because while what Sri is sharing with you is a great preface. And yes, let's go ahead and bring our hands to our heart, because from the experience of consciousness, and Sri and I do want to share with all of you that we are outside of all political experience. We are clearly sharing direct experience with you. And that direct experience that we're sharing with you is that one of the greatest blessings during this past week of experience has been the recognition that COVID is actually here as a vehicle for expansion. That the COVID experience is an accelerator. In and of itself, it's an accelerator. And how perfect. Look at when it came, 2019. Go back, look at all the calendars that we've put out. Go look at the way that consciousness has been accelerating and the way everything has been coming in. So when you have a planetary thought body that is already resonating with fear, and that the fourth dimensional experience has collapsed into that, thereby amplifying that fear. So much so that fear itself came forward as its own ascension symptom. Mm-hmm. We now know that through the blessing of the COVID, it's not about the COVID itself. It is about the consciousness that is meeting it.
There it is.
And because it's about the consciousness that is meeting it, the energy of fear has become the consciousness of COVID. So imagine that if you are living in polarity, fear, hate, anger, positionality, all of the things that would be outside of sustaining the Sea of Neutrality. Sri and I have been now very personally affected by COVID. Many of you know I lost 2 brothers last year within 2 weeks apart. Sri and I are on our last day or 2 of quarantine as we're speaking with you. And what we can share is that the journey that we have documented throughout this past week has clearly shown, as the ascended presence has come in so many times, that of course that which could offer the greatest acceleration for the consciousness of humanity would meet the fear and polarity that could actually collapse it. Mm-hmm. How perfect! And this is the blessing, is to see that we are clear that if there was to be a reason that the universe would have invited us to go through this experience, it was to see that consciousness itself is the way through. We've had everybody throw every cure at us. We have taken none of them. We have Epsom salt, a lot of Epsom salt baths, a lot of our own divine experience. And in the end of the day, so to speak, beyond a Tylenol, Seriously, what we have noticed is that COVID is a conscious virus. And thereby, if you meet it with a consciousness that is unable to sustain the frequency of the virus diminishes. Because the virus is very much attached to fear molecules. And that's why it's mutating wildly, and that's why it's spreading. Because what it has called forward has been rampant polarization and anger and hatred, and it's almost like a subterfuge of these energies that are wanting an even greater presence on the planet. If you're sitting home afraid, if you're sitting home complaining, if you're sitting home talking about mask or not mask or whatever other thing is distracting you, then you're not in your highest consciousness because you're being distracted by that moon. We're right in that January moon, especially. Remember, we're still in that full moon of the rising voice, which was all about the energy of can we survive dogma as we're moving into this crystalline, the first of 2 in a row, crystalline full moons, in a moment of choice.
Yes. You know, it's important to underscore that word that Kira Ra just shared with you, that COVID is an accelerator.
In every way.
And so it's a little bit like, where do you want to put a drop of jet fuel? Would you
you
want
a fire?
Do you want that to accelerate depression? Do you want that to accelerate your inspiration, etc.? So remember, energy meets energy. And there is an expansion. So if we're greeting something with fear, guess what gets expanded? If we're greeting something with curiosity, then perhaps our consciousness opens.
Exactly.
You know, one of the things that I want to, it's just very basic and I think very important for all of us that are going through any form of experience that commonly would be called a symptom or an affliction, is that COVID itself, one of the common experiences people have is a sense of vulnerability. Okay, so in the vulnerability is an opportunity for you to use your consciousness to reframe that as I am available to grow.
Exactly.
I am available to expand. I embrace change in my life. So that first blush of that sense of vulnerability, that's the inner child going, I'm not sure what's happening. And the spiritual master is saying, we are available.
Right.
We're available to evolve. You know, and fear itself is an indication that we're clinging to something in density.
Exactly. A sense of not being enough, right?
Yeah.
All fear stems from not being enough.
Yeah, fear is a belief in separation.
Exactly.
It's saying I'm lacking something or I'm about to lose something.
Exactly.
And so you recognize, okay, I was enculturated. I took birth here on this planet. Of course I know how to do fear. You know, and the master within smiles and says, let's breathe through that and expand into the oneness, into the peace of your divine nature. Use the fear as a stimulant to choose the peace.
Exactly.
And then, you know, that again, that very human sense of, okay, I'm adrift. I'm in between, you know, I have this virusing experiencing going on. Well, that sense of groundlessness is actually your opportunity to anchor in your ascended trust.
Breathe that in.
To anchor in an energetic stability rather than being dependent upon a physical stability. Consider the freedom that awaits you. You know, and finally, each and every symptom, because as Kira shared, COVID is kind of one of these smart viruses. It'll enter and it'll say, okay, I'm going to check out your respiratory system or your digestive system.
What it does is it actually, we've been watching, it's fascinating because again, if your consciousness is being carried at a higher experience than the COVID consciousness itself, we have literally been the witness. Watching the virus go, okay, I see I couldn't get you here, so now let me try here. Now let me try here. So it really is a dance with your divine presence. And I want you to really breathe that in because can we go outside of dogma means can you let go of all of the stories that you still believe are real? All of the stories of who you think you are. This is the greatest illusion of all. And in this moment right now, this potentiality amongst all the potentialities, has brought us all to this moment in especially February, in what we experience as linear time, February 2022, as that 6, which is that beingness, which is that sense of peace that's going to bring us back to that which we are. And the consciousness that meets that will determine the experience of that which you are in consciousness with in this moment. And as you breathe that in, I want you to just really breathe that in and track with me. Okay? Just breathe it in and track with me. Because you're capable of this. You don't need Sri to interpret what I'm saying all the time. I know you guys hear me. And so as you breathe in and as you receive that divine mastery presence that goes beyond the limitation of density, that goes outside the mind, that would seek to quantify and qualify and give you all kinds of reasons and everything else that should be distracting you, in that moment, receive that which you are with the clarity of presence that can see and sustain the voice of passionate action as the larger vision. When we insert at mask or no mask, vax or no vax, we are literally, if you are in that argument, your consciousness has not grown and it cannot expand, because it means that you've taken a positionality and you have also said, I have an investment in the polarity. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's here, because it wants you to have an investment. And so the mind will keep justifying all of this, right? The mind will keep telling you, no, but this, whatever. Fine, then dance with that. Dance with that. And then, as Sri mentioned earlier, can you love yourself enough to hold that compassion of that ascended heart, not just for yourself, in service to all, thereby sustaining your fifth dimensional presence so that you are able to begin to release judgment. Judgment is what sustains you in the fifth from going to the seventh, because you can still have judgment in the fifth dimension. There's lots of judgment in the fifth dimension. There's lots of spiritual arrogance. Spiritual arrogance is at an all-time high. And so the freedom that COVID brings is extraordinary. And so, of course, something that could bring such great freedom has been immediately shown as only having one use: to damage, when that's not the truth. To be able to witness a virus going through the body and to be able to command it and notice where it's at and move it with your consciousness in full alignment is a gift of divine mastery presence. And the reason that Sri and I are having and completing this experience moving into our February 1 blast off as well, because February 1's the day we get out of quarantine, which we found very interesting as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's important to take a breath and smile at everything.
Yes.
Because the smile, and I'm not talking about that sense of weirdness. I'm talking about the Buddhist smile.
Yes.
I'm talking about that sense of I am in divine trust.
Exactly.
I am.
Exactly.
Trust.
Yes.
And everything that I experience is here to expand my capacity to serve.
Exactly.
Everything.
He owes me a Coke, I think. And that's one of the gifts that we're sharing with you right now, is that in this moment, you know, so many people wrote us and I was like, we have our own concoction. And they're like, oh, I want that concoction for our pharmacy or whatever. It's like, well, okay, it's the consciousness concoction, literally. And I will share with you that our very first night together, when we both had some symptomology, the very first night, it was a very intense night and it was a very big night. And it was so extraordinary to witness what was left in both of us. But it was one night. And sincerely, our COVID toolkit, and we've had lots of different experiences with it, has been Tylenol and Epsom salt baths. And I will share with you, my special Epsom salt combination is cardamom oil and mint oil. So I take a big old thing of Epsom salt and I put in some cardamom oil and some mint oil and we stir that up. And Sri and I, when we wake up every morning, we just turn on the tub. And it's at least once a day. But that magnesium gets right into the body. Also spray magnesium, we've been using that as well, but that's all we've used. It's literally all we've used during this time. And consciousness has been our healer and our gift. And that's why we're sharing COVID and consciousness with you.
Yes.
Because it's important to surround yourself with the blessings of an open, conscious experience, to meet everything that's happening in front of you right now with the gift of your own co-creative nature. 2022 is what? It's energy with co-creation. Here, I'm going to put it up again so you can actually, I want you to actually see that. You see that right there? It's energy with that co-creative power and momentum. And that momentum is your conscious awareness through quantum expansion, because 2022 is all about birthing the Sea of Neutrality and keeping it open. And that is a moment that's important for everyone to remember, that you are the Sea of Neutrality with each conscious Ave Sa breath, with each moment that you say yes to your divine mastery presence. It's that steadfast commitment, it's that focused awareness, and it's that complete trust. Yes. And as you are anchoring that through 2022, we started talking about this late last year. This is that year where it's like, we've got everybody by, it's like, we got you, right? And Shree's other arms we've got you, right? That's the year.
Be with,
and nothing can stop you. And it brings me to my other tattoo. I just want to share with all of you, because this is the Avesa symbol. And this is the mantra of self-ascension, only it's in Espanol. And the reason that we are really calling your attention to Ave Sa and to the mantra of self-ascension is that to sustain the Sea of Neutrality demands that your consciousness keep expanding as well.
Yes. That
little drop has already come in and opened it. Sustaining it, anchoring it, unifying is all about the March equinox. It's all about March. And so sincerely, as we are in this month of choice, as February 1 says, go, what is your go moment, right?
It's important to remember that everything in your experience, when greeted with loving consciousness, will serve.
Yes.
And will resolve in the most beautiful possible way. Mm-hmm. When we have any form of injury or affliction, if we greet it with the consciousness of, I love you, I accept you, I'm here to support.
Right.
You don't need to say those words, but this is the attentiveness of a loving mother. This is the attentiveness of a steward who cares, the compassion. When we greet our body, when we take a look at what's going on with that loving presence, that which needs to be witnessed presents, and that which is ready to resolve releases.
It's like it just says, okay, adios, done, right?
And each of us, because we have a human journey, we have a legacy. Yes. There are artifacts or residues of our legacy, little moments of saying, oh, there's something I hadn't looked at in 50 years, and it's up for completion.
Or 3.
Or 50 minutes, whatever.
Right.
But the key is that the compassionate consciousness is your gateway to expanding the peace of I am, your being. Have no fear. Everything is flowing in the most wondrous of ways.
It really is. And the key is, how do you sustain yourself? Where is your experience with the Sea of Neutrality? Beloved angels, take this moment right now as we're together. Whether you're with us live, whether you're catching this on a rebroadcast, it doesn't matter. Because in this moment, we are together. In this moment, may your heart be reassured that there are so many beautiful moments before humanity as we say yes to consciousness. And it brings me back, I just want to share, this is why in the end of December, it was actually earlier than that, I had this very profound experience, and I saw all of the leaders from all of the tribes and all of us coming together and really saying yes, celebrating each other's cultures, celebrating each other's ceremonies, being present for each other, coming together so that our collective voice could shout out to the universe and say, yes, consciousness has a chance. Yes, we are here. Yes, we are ready. Yes, we are open. And yes, guide us. Because our ego is relaxed. Thereby, we have lifted into that 9th dimensional frequency where we become the witness again, ever present to the greater experience that is unraveling before us as we become the custodians that hold open the Sea of Neutrality. This moment matters. Shri and I have been blessed to have the gift of experiencing COVID and calling forward the rising sea of consciousness through it. And we invite you to consider carrying your gift as one of the Sea of Neutrality as well. And to understand, and this is where Monday Magic is so important this year. Make sure you're there because we're going to be navigating the Sea of Neutrality together. What is it and what is it not? Because the perception through the languaging itself is part of the confusion. Often when you hear a word, your mind comes right in with a belief system and a dogma tied to that word. And the invitation of Monday Magic is to expand beyond that and to sustain the Sea of Neutrality. So I invite you now to really notice your chakras right now. And as you do, I just want to quickly show one more time the Ascended Numerology for February, because if you gaze right there again at the physical body, that 6 is the 2nd chakra. It's the chakra of creation, and that's what this year is all about. Look at the wheel, notice the energies, and what you will see is that by the time we get to just Tuesday, we're all up enjoying this divine energy coming pouring in. And then just 2 days later, we're saying, okay, now how do we manifest it in real time? If there is time, but it's right now. Yeah.
Absolutely. Beloved ones, I am reminded there is only now.
Yes.
And the soon to be now, which is that divine flow that is blessing us with the manifestations that are here for the expansion.
Indeed. And so, beloved ones, please visit shriandkira.com. Learn about Monday Magic. Learn about March. Be there.
Yes.
And hey, make sure you're here with us every Sunday at noon Eastern Time, where each week we're going to be sharing with you and exploring more about what's going on in the world. Why should we be sharing about that? We'll connect with you guys in the chat and receive your questions. And of course, always weekly updates. We love you with all of our heart. And may you know the gift that you are.